folks, welcome back to my channel. My name is Siobhan Ebert. This is Oscar's Obsession. And today I wanted to make a little departure from the kind of content I've been coming out with awards predictions for nominations, reactions, and of course, I'm really excited to be reacting to the Critics' Choice Awards this weekend on Friday, and eventually making some SAG predictions, some Oscars predictions. But today, after the week that we've had, and just looking and doing a little bit of engagement on social media, on Twitter, or X as we call it now, it's become a little evident to me that I would like to just put my voice out there on all of the controversy surrounding Emilia Pérez and Karla Sofía Gascón. Before I get into this, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. There are a few main points I want to talk about in this video. One is kind of my thoughts on Emilia Pérez as a film, strictly being a film. Also, some of its social impact and the controversy surrounding that, especially with Latin America. Secondly, I would like to talk about everything surrounding Karla right now and just the mess that's happened, and basically like the lack of damage control and just the complete chaos and disgusting things that have been circulating. And it's pretty much only one person's fault. Obviously, it's Karla's. And third, I would like to just talk about maybe transportation in film, and also like the historic aspect or the historical significance of a nomination of a transgender woman who is out at the Oscars, and just how big and important that is, especially myself being part of the community, how major that was for me to see that, and rooting for this film and rooting for Karla and like the entire cast, to be honest. I've watched Emilia Pérez 4 times on Netflix. So the first time I watched it, it was like a lot, right? It's like I was like, whoa, this movie is chaotic. And I was kind of prepared for it going into it, knowing the story and just seeing it succeed at Cannes, and just knowing the kind of films that Cannes awards its prizes to. I'm thinking like Titan, of course, The Substance, Dancer in the Dark, Blue is the Warmest Color, and so on and so forth. So, reading the synopsis of the film, Emilia Pérez, about, I thought it was very interesting. I was like, wow, there's like a movie with a trans woman. It's not necessarily a trans story, but it involves a woman that transitions from cartel leader to activist, and it is very extreme. And let's just leave it to the French to be that extreme. To be honest, I'm thinking Gaspar Noé, Leos Carax, those kind of directors that are auteurs and come out with some crazy shit. So I was fully prepared going into it, what to expect, knowing that it was a musical. Um, and from the very beginning, I felt a connection to the film. I guess the first couple times I saw it, and then actually the third time I saw it was right after that Golden Globes win, when it won Best Musical or Comedy. It's definitely not a comedy. First of all, I think there's like one comedic part of it, which is that musical number that happens when Rita is going out to see surgeons all across the world, and it takes several years for her to find a surgeon finally in Tel Aviv after basically being threatened by Manitas. And I found that very relatable. So one reason I wanted to speak on this is because I see a lot of trans criticism, or just trans folks or queer people in general finding this to be extremely problematic, the way maybe the song is represented, and some are more understanding that it's like a kitschy kind of absurdist satirical take on what it means to transition. But I found a big connection to this, knowing how many people spend years trying to find the right surgeon just for one procedure, let alone like a full like head to toe transition. And while this isn't really rooted in reality for pretty much anyone because you can't just go in and get like 14 surgeries done at once. It's extremely dangerous, and also you risk so many complications. But for someone with that much access to money who's so quickly needing to transition and having already started the transition, and having someone to navigate that for you kind of through their lens, how ridiculous the whole thing is. And surely there are so many surgeons out there that are like, yes, let's get you in for that and this and that. And that whole musical number about vaginoplasty and all the other procedures that they list, I kind of got a kick out of that. Of course, this is directed by a cis white male from France who's an auteur who probably knows nothing about trans people in general. Maybe he did a little bit of research here and there. There are parts of it that are like, okay, you didn't really delve deep into the topic that much. It didn't really bother me so much, I guess. And I think there's some of it has been linked to transphobia or criticisms that this is transphobic or aggressive, when in fact, I think that many of us in the community can say that we've been through similar experiences. I haven't personally gone to Thailand or all these other countries to do these operations. Many people across the world do, and that's part of it. And I thought it was fitting that she starts in Bangkok because there is just so many folks that go there for a better price. And the type of musical it is, I didn't see it to be like this flashy, like jazz hands kind of movie where we're like making light of serious issues. Do I think that using mass disappearances and murders by cartels and then kind of taking that and then using someone that's transitioned and somehow making them like a better person, and then years later them starting a some sort of nonprofit to find the bodies and answer questions. Um, does it trivialize the seriousness of the issue? I think as someone that lives in the United States that has a very like minor exposure to like how serious the issue is, for me, it opened my eyes like just how like the extent of how damaging this is for communities in Mexico and Mexico City. Now, I think there's so many films that Audiard has done in the past that I can think of. One, Deepan, the other being a prophet, which kind of view minorities through a Eurocentric lens. And then we have Deepan, which won the Palme d'Or actually. And that was widely criticized for romanticizing Tamil refugees and just war trauma in general, and just showing the immigrant struggle as some sort of like crime thriller. And so I think that is completely applicable to Emilia Pérez. So when you do look at it, yeah, I see the issues here. This is a director, an auteur, who has a very strong vision, and the vision doesn't always really feel authentic. It feels like a European gaze upon the entire world. And it totally makes sense that people feel uncomfortable with this. And then on top of it, you have a crisis that's been unfolding for years and years and years in Mexico and across Latin America with drug cartels, with disappearances and murders. So, of course, this film is like controversial. Like it's a lot. I also think that film is not just meant for entertainment. I think that many people have different opinions on what film or movie should be. Some think that it's entertainment and it's for popcorn and enjoying. Some want to see art. Some want to experience something that changes their soul. And there's many, many more in between. And obviously, Emilia Perez is definitely in between there. It's not like this entertaining popcorn flick, in my opinion. It's not the biggest piece of art that is going to be talked about for centuries. It's definitely going to be talked about for other things, but yeah, it's difficult to be out there saying that I enjoy this movie and what I do when so many people are hurt by it, and it has devastating consequences for those who watch it, who are so widely connected to the film. But I also feel like a lot of the people critiquing the film haven't seen the film, because I see narratives around things that happen in the film that actually don't happen. So I think that's just something to keep in mind. So if you do want to watch Emilia Perez, do know that it is very controversial. It is really like out there. It is really like it is hammering home on some issues that could probably be handled with more grace. But again, this is not a documentary, but also this is not like some fun entertainment fluff piece. This is not like fun stuff. This is serious shit. You know what I mean? So I can't in good faith say no one is allowed to enjoy a film when each and every person is supposed to, if the film works, have a different visceral response to the film itself. Obviously, I have a very different experience than many other people, especially within the trans community. So for me, I see this film, I like this film because it just speaks something different to me than other people. And so that's probably the reason why I've seen it like 4 times, because I'm trying to keep looking and seeing what the issue is, not so much the issue, but should I be looking at this with a different perspective? And I do now see it through a different perspective in which people really feel offended by the content and how it glosses over certain issues. And there's things happening now and will continue to happen. But I think that this is a global issue as well. It's not insular to one country or one continent. The violence from cartels is felt all throughout the world, and but it's especially felt in the region. So when we're talking about film, when we're looking at the European gays, these Europeans are notorious for this, right? So what I got out of it was how serious these things are. And in terms of the character of Emilia Perez, I think Carla had actually a really big input into the script, or at least the character herself, because from what I've read, that Audiard had actually written a script that uh, basically has Manitas who undergoes a transition just to escape his past and not just because he wants to be a woman. And the whole script was kind of revolving around this, like, oh, I can become a woman, where she was like, no, this is not how that works. In terms of Selena Gomez, I think also there's been like a misunderstanding about who these characters are. And I can only blame that for sure, like people who are in Latin America do not want to watch a movie where they feel disrespected, where they feel that the language is not represented accurately, or perhaps there's not enough Mexican actors or actresses in it. But I think my only comment on that is that there was a movie, Roma, by Alfonso Cuarón, that just missed Best Picture to, I guess, what people are calling Emilia Perez's this year's Green Book. That was Green Book. And that was honestly such a disappointing Best Picture win for me. It was like when Crash won over Brokeback Mountain. I was just like, are you kidding me? We're really going with Green Book, but whatever. At least won Best Director. I remember years ago when the actress Yalitza Aparicio um, was actually like harassed so much and was attacked for, I think, having indigenous roots, for the way that she looks, and having been nominated for the Best Actress Award and being told, like, you don't represent us. And, there's just so many issues in Mexico with film, with art, with media that I really can't touch too much on, but I did notice that. So it came to no surprise to me when these performances came out in Emilia Perez, and when we had actors such as Zoe Saldana, Selena Gomez, and Karla Sofía Gascón, that there's going to be a lot of controversy around it. And I think the worst part is that the script didn't really follow the Mexican dialect, or just the way that, you know, Latin Americans speak, especially in Mexico. And so definitely some inaccuracies there, and that the vendor truck wasn't driving at night, but instead in the morning, or and these are just some criticisms I see about inaccuracies or inauthenticity in the film. Um, when Rita's like working on her laptop at the night market, like that would never happen. And the courtroom was like nothing like how Mexican courtrooms are. I think when you have an auteur, it can either go one or two ways. They're so meticulously accurate about what they want to depict on screen. And I'm thinking about Kubrick. But then we have some auteurs that just like they just want to roll with what they got. They want to realize their vision. And when I was thinking about it and when I watched the interviews with Audiard and with just why he made this film, it was more about having an international kind of message about redemption, identity, societal transformation, and how these themes are quite international and timely. And I think that one thing that I think that I felt a certain connection with is the irony but behind religious symbolism in the film in Emilia Perez. And I think that when you do have that disconnect between a Eurocentric director who's an auteur and a whole country that has a very distinct monotheistic allegiance to something like Catholicism, there's bound to be a lot of conflict. And I am not someone who says that there shouldn't be any dialogue here or that people don't have to have an issue. If you want to, that's good, that's fine. I think film is important to bring about these conversations. But we see the end of Emilia Perez that she has become sanctified. And I think that raises a very important question. I am a little the only disappointment I have in the film is it doesn't go more into the sanctification of her character because I feel like it was not because she is a saint, it's because of the irony. So I think that there's a lot of conflict in the story about redeemer and criminal, about how someone can be venerated and feared at the same time. And the admiration that we build for Amelia is kind of, even throughout the film, it's based on this kind of selective knowledge or selective interpretation of who they are as a person, of who Amelia is as a person. And we see throughout the film, she goes from a caring aunt to a jealous lover to someone who wants to take all the money and funds away from Jessie and her family and the kids just because she wants to get her way. I feel like this kind of touches upon a lot of really like touchy subjects. And like this is like such a touchy movie already. And the way that we construct saints and martyrs and this often ignores the complexity of these people's lives. And I think that's a lot of the frustration gets into play. But this is the reality is that people are complex human beings, just how Karla is a complex human being. And now I am not ever gonna stand on the side of a woman that goes on and says, well, Hitler just had some ideas, and why was there a world war about that? Even if I thought that was a sarcastic, ironic, third person stance on an issue, like I don't know why you would say that on Twitter. Like that is literally insane to me. I don't know. Like Auntie needs to log off, right? When we think about revolutionary icons who have changed the world, yes, like I remember in like early high school, I had a teacher that idolized Mao Zedong, who idolized Che Guevara because they were cuties, they were radicals, they changed the world, but we don't see the sinister aspect behind them. And I think that is something that comes into play with Emilia Perez, that we see people who change the world, but we don't know their past actions. And so we see these folks who are revered not necessarily for who they are intrinsically, but who we want them to be. We're counting on people who uh, we want them to be one way because we need them to be one way. And for the people inside this film, in this world that is probably not the true nature of Latin America, of Mexico City, that is probably the case here. So these stories kind of serve a purpose by commenting on the worshiping nature, right? And we see this common theme throughout the film that suffering somehow purifies the soul, that going through transition changes society. Like it becomes like evident in the film that I remember like there was like one moment Zoe Saldana is talking to the surgeon, like changing society changes the soul, changing the soul changes society. And that is such a lawyer's perspective. And we look at how there's like so many comments about the legal system as well, right? There's so much complexity behind it, and I think this is a exaggeration. This is an exaggerated movie. This is a movie that really takes it there, and because the subject matter is so fresh and it's not even fresh, it's like in the middle of crisis that it becomes in bad taste, right? So as someone who's living comfortably well away from cartel violence, I can sit here, look at the film, watch it, enjoy it in a way that I experience art and understand that difference. But someone who's like stuck in the middle, who's I mean, someone from Mexico City, and they're looking and seeing what's going on in this film can completely understand this is way too fucking much. Especially when it's someone from France who didn't do the research about Mexico. Yeah, it's quite a burden to like handle. I do like some of the themes. I think that there is something to be said about idolization as a form of erasure, of turning someone like Emilia Perez, who is just not a good person, if you're turned into this saintly figure and there's people around you effectively like erasing your past actions, then look at this critique. Look how the critique of what Audiard presents, right? This is a critique of how society deals with figures of power and redemption. We prefer simplified narratives of salvation rather than reckoning with moral contradictions. So we look at Amelia Perez's character. She's admired for the pain that she's gone through and all the things that she's done. And I think the only thing that we can, as someone in this lived experience, the gender transition that occurs in this film is framed within the context that, it has to be within suffering and redemption and not through just normalcy. It has to be reinforced by the idea that trans women and trans men, we have to endure hardship to be respected. And that's not always the case. Simply, we just exist, we transition, and that's it. And we're ourselves. So that's the one critique I do have in this film, but it's not always the case. And like every trans person has a different experience. People are just as complex, flawed, and morally ambiguous as anyone else in these kind of roles, right? So this film, Amelia Perez, it does play with this contradiction, and it shows how idealization often functions as a way to rewrite history rather than confront it. And I think that's why there's been so much issue with this film is that people see this film and they think this man is literally rewriting our history rather than coming in with sources, coming directly into Mexico and showing it for what it is. And unfortunately, satire doesn't work for everybody. And this film didn't go as far as showing as a satirical confrontation of the topics at hand. For me, scenes like vaginoplasty, the musical number there, it did feel satirical to me in a way that felt like I felt seen. Like I was like, oh my God, yeah, you get it. But like I think that it's very difficult for me to like imagine that other people understood other film parts of the film as satire. Just the film goer that I am, the kind of movies I like to see, I like these genre bending movies. Um, and so the first couple of times I watched Emilia Perez, I actually really enjoy the film. And I've seen it 4 times, and each time I have enjoyed the film, but I can see where it lacks sensitivity. And it's unfortunate, to say the least, that it's caused such pain for people who experience something that's really it's like ongoing. Like there's like hundreds of thousands of people disappearing and being murdered every year in Mexico. So the fact that Audiard never went to Mexico, didn't do like a lot of research. He didn't really try to like hire anybody that would work on the script, that would understand what these folks were saying and make it seem more realistic. But I don't think at the end of the day that would have helped matters at all, because I think the whole idea of the film would have never been received well um, in that regard. So just taking it for what it is, I just think that the characters, the way that he hired the actors and actresses in this film were not because he wanted to make a movie about Mexico. It was more about the themes of identity, of transformation, of redemption. It's even explained in the film that Selena Gomez is literally American, and so I wouldn't expect an American with perfect Spanish anyway. But it does seem to bother people, and I don't want to speak on things that I really don't have any place to speak on. That was just my opinion about who that character was, and obviously he chose these roles just because he met the actors and actresses. He met Selena Gomez and he wanted her in it. It's very like muse-like. He was like, these are my muses. So he saw Dania, she's Dominican. And it's explained in the film that she's not Mexican. She's from Mexico, but she's actually Dominican. So there's not only that, but also Karla Sofía Gascón. And now, of course, they try to make it like, oh, she lost her accent, so the accent is really on point. But also, like Karla was like working in Mexico for quite some time for telenovelas, and I think there's a quote out there saying that she finds, Mexico to be like her adopted home. So of course she has like the strong connection to Mexico. So her being hired for this film, um, I didn't find to be too outrageous. And then we have Adriana Paz, who's obviously a Mexican actress. So I didn't really have an issue with any of that. There's also like a lot of discourse around that whole end scene that is like shocking, right? I was like, whoa, what's like this is a spoiler alert, so if you want to skip, but I don't think anyone cares at this point because if you've seen it, you've seen it. If you don't want to see it, you're not going to see it, right? So she's stuffed in the truck by Gustavo, who is Jesse's husband or lover or boyfriend. I'm not sure at that point what really happens. Shoved in the truck, misgendered, she's bleeding, fingers have been cut off days prior or the day prior, maybe. Then after this realization that Jessie had actually done this to her husband or, someone that was her ex-lover, and just the terrible thing that she had done. And then they die in a car crash, and then Zoe Saldana watches, and then ends with her taking care of the children. I thought that tied up nicely with the beginning in which she's basically singing after her court case that everyone wants her to have children, but like she just can't. And it's just like she's like a hardworking lawyer. She's not being recognized. She's focusing on her career. And then of course she can't do that because she's kidnapped and then basically forced to find the surgeon for Manitas or Emilia as they come to be. The film was entertaining. I heard some folks saying it's boring, it's a mess, it's bad, the tonal shifts are awful, the songs suck, and for me, I enjoyed it, and I can't really apologize for that because I saw it more than Wicked this year. Obviously, Wicked has better music, because it's Wicked. Like, who doesn't like Wicked? And also, it's like a really amazing film in itself. And like, if I'm being like film critic, if I'm looking at it without bias, like Wicked is obviously the better film. So the point is, I think Emilia Perez is a good movie that has a lot of flaws. And we're gonna look back in 10 years and be like, oh my God, like they really didn't do their research on that movie. But the technical elements of that are good. Like cinematically, it works. The performances are quite good for what they are. Like Amelia is like a 4 out of 5 movie for me. And I do wish it was just a little bit more authentic. Not all trans people feel the same about trans films or films involving trans people and the way they're written. And yeah, this is my opinion. So I want to move on to the Karla stuff. And first of all, I was delighted to see her nominated for an Oscar. Now, since Amelia won Cannes and she got the Best Actress prize shared between her and Paz and Saldana and Gomez, I was like, I think this is gonna be the year that we get someone on the ballot and they might get nominated. And, you know, it's unfortunate because we've had really good performances over the years. I'm thinking about Daniela Vega. Of course, that film won Best Foreign Language Film for it was in 2018, the Academy Awards had their televised ceremony. And of course, she was speaking. And that was very like, that pulled my heartstrings because I think it was a couple of years um, after I became who I am today. And I'm just wondering, like, why wasn't she, you know, times are different and, you know, I understand, but why was she not like advocated for Best Actress? I mean, first of all, if you're not going to watch Emilia Perez and you hate this film, if you hate the film, watch A Fantastic Woman. Chilean film. It won Over the Square, which won the Palme d'Or at Cannes the previous year. So it is quite remarkable. And I like The Square as well, by the way. I think that's a brilliant film. But A Fantastic Woman really is like something. It's something else. And I think everyone should watch this. Watch some films with trans actresses who are not being at the forefront of conversations with awards when they really should be. Another one I can think of, Tracy Sett and Monica, another fantastic performance. I remember last year that people were like, we need to get, you know, Tracy Sett in for Monica. Like, you know, if Andrea Riseborough could get in for To Leslie, you know, why not Tracy Sett? And yeah, that like dissolved like almost immediately. And so that was a little bit disappointing. And then there was this film called Tangerine. Now, I think this is kind of cool to talk about because we have a Nora this year, and Tangerine was Sean Baker's feature-length debut, shot on an iPhone. And Maya Taylor in that film, I think she won a Indie Spirit Award for that film. I mean, she's a revelation. Obviously, Netflix is huge, right? I mean, I think when Netflix started, you know, putting movies into the Oscars, they were being ignored. I'm thinking like famously about Idris Elba, Beast of No Nation. The Academy warmed up to the idea of streaming services coming out with films that were released on streaming and being like, okay, you know, this is the reality of the world that we live in. And we're going to start nominating films that are on Netflix, that are on Apple TV. I feel like we're going back to the days of those like ugly like campaigns and making things really bad and putting films at the forefront that really shouldn't be winning awards. So, and this year, I think this year has been probably the worst Oscar season ever. It's actually quite upsetting to me. So now I want to move on to the kind of controversy surrounding Karla Sofía Gascón. I mean, everyone's shocked about the things that she's written in the past on Twitter and just the level of xenophobia and racism and anti-Semitism and bigotry and just really disgusting, obviously. And I don't know how much more I can add to this conversation. So first of all, I want to say that these tweets were not uncovered until she made these comments about the team surrounding Fernanda Torres, the social media team. I think that was completely unfair for her to say. I think that she was saying the right thing first, saying social media is attacking me. When you have like this film that's your baby and it's labeled as terrible, and then also I can kind of relate, like she worked in Mexico for many years and she found it to be her home, her adopted home. And then for an entire country to be like, your film is awful and we hate it. Like maybe you take it personally. I'm sure I'm Still Here is, you know, we're gonna look back in history and be like, I'm Still Here is a better movie than Emilia Perez. Now they've become a little bit more going into Twitter and like talking a little bit more, having dialogues with folks and looking at the conversations. I love Brazil. I love y'all. I know some of you are watching and you're waiting for me to be like, you know, fuck Karla and she sucks. Yes, she does. Obviously. But I don't think it's fair to compare her to Donald Trump or like Caitlyn Jenner. And the reason for this is because there's so many things happening here in the United States. And I don't want to be like USA centric, but it's all I can really speak on as a United States citizen and all the things that we've had to go through the past month, and the drama, the scariness. Like I can think of like three executive orders that have come out that have actually are really affecting us. First of all, the T being dropped from the website, and then basically executive orders that will punish healthcare providers for providing gender affirming care to trans youth. And then also anything involving even I think even saying the word transgender in school or like having topics around it. So there is a lot of erasure happening right now. So on that note, I think those are more pressing issues. So I think these are like issues that a lot of trans folks are looking at. Now we're looking at Karla. She's unhinged. She's a mess. She's all over the news. She's crying, sobbing, trying to explain herself. Now, to a certain extent, I do believe her tweets were written in third person and as she says, like a diary, but I really just I think that, yeah, of course, like this is just literally insane. And like I just don't understand. Like I don't understand like I'm finding like a lot of like just confusing narratives around why she wrote what she wrote. And I just feel like just a really crazy lady. Um, and it sucks because we're going through all this. We're being seen as sickos, weirdos. I think even myself was called a freak or creep or something online for just saying like, oh, there's a lot of transphobia happening in the world. And like, and what I've been noticing a lot is many folks who are commenting on these posts about like Karla needs to go, she's awful. And then I look more into their profile and I see histories of sharing anti-LGBTQ or just anti-trans rhetoric. And I'm not saying that she's being canceled because of transphobia. I know the reason that she's being canceled or, people are really freaking out and are really upset. It's because of these comments. And I think that some of her beliefs are just so like out there and it's disappointing. But really, what I want to say is she's made a lot of apologies to the groups. Obviously, she was talking about Muslims, Jews, people who from Asia, that whole like Afro-Korean festival thing, which was like, it's like there's so many tweets and so many things that she said that have been so like it's like hard to swallow, right? So like imagine how heartbreaking it is for trans film lovers. It honestly sucks. And as I mentioned before, like we had great performances in films like Tangerine and Monica and A Fantastic Woman, and they were just like, no one cares about those performances. Fantastic Woman got some love as a foreign language film, which I think was amazing. But then we see this year also a film such as Wall and Harper be completely shut out. And then also a film such as I Saw the TV Glow. Now, I didn't really enjoy I Saw the TV Glow. There was parts of it that really was like, oh my God, like this is like really emotional for me. But I feel like the ending of that film just left me feeling not so good. But I can't stress enough how disappointing this is. And I see today like Karla's not rescinding her nomination. She's not like revoking it. She's gonna be there. I don't know if she's gonna go to the ceremony or what other ceremonies she might go to, if she's gonna win anything. I doubt it. Like I never for 1 second, having seen the film, I'm like, she can't win an Oscar for this performance. She's just not in it enough. We saw Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon, and she didn't win the Oscar. I actually thought she might. When she didn't win, I was like, that makes sense. She was not in the film as much. And to be honest, Zoe Saldana is more in the film than Emilia Perez. But yeah, how disappointing it is for us. Just one horrible thing that's coming out of this is that forever this tarnishes the historical aspect of a trans woman being nominated for Oscar and someone that I don't want to say idolized, but someone that I really looked up to. I'm like, oh my gosh, we have someone that I wouldn't say look like me, but someone who's been through a similar experience as me, who's been through all this, and she's in this film, and she got all these prizes and all this love, and then for it to all fall apart so quickly, and then like the very public humiliation, and I'm not saying it's not deserved, but if you think about it as well, like this woman is getting like constant death threats and she has a family and every little word she is saying is being picked apart and that is fair. I am not saying that you shouldn't. I think we should focus on the joy of award season at this point. I think the Schadenfreude of it all is just getting to me and I want to do my videos. I want to have fun on Twitter. I want to like talk about good things. But then I see after every maybe critique of Karla, half of them are like, well, she's a man, so she shouldn't even be there anyway. And I just like, it's just like, it's so low of people and it's expected. And I'm tired of living in these times where, um, simply I feel like, someone like Carla was trying to speak out and be like, things are happening in this world, and she wants to be the light in the darkness. And unfortunately, I think, as she explained in her hour-long monologue on CNN, she's fallen victim to the darkness. And yeah, so I think t now is the time to move on. And if you want to harp on it, if you want to like make your critiques and like that's on you. And I support it. I think I don't want to tell anyone to shut up. I don't want to tell anyone to like have want my opinion. I don't want anyone to feel like, oh no, you don't understand where she's coming from. These are just my thoughts. I think that not enough trans people speak on this. And the ones that do like have this like very one opinion that like Emilia Pérez sucks and we hate it and it's transphobic and it's, through a cisgender gaze, and to a certain extent it is, but I liked it. I think the moral of the story is that it makes me very sad. Of course, I want any queer person or non-binary, two-spirit, transgender male, woman, everyone in between to get their flowers at Oscars, but especially to someone who moves through life like me to be there and to be nominated, and for it not to be shrouded in drama and chaos because it already will be. It doesn't matter. Um, if all of this had happened and she turned out to be like this really unhinged, crazy person. But I just feel like our community deserves more than that. And what my opinion is, what's missing from this is like, bitch, you owe us an apology. Like you do. Like I am gonna have to live the rest of my life knowing that you were the first nominee as a trans woman, out trans woman. And this is how you handled it. You made us all look bad. Now everyone thinks we're like this. Like it's like an avalanche. The public opinion is an avalanche. Everyone's gonna see this and be like, wow, this is how trans people are. These are how the trans actresses are. We shouldn't hire them. They're drama. Imagine what Netflix is gonna think. They're gonna be like, none of this. We're never picking up another trans story. Or it'll be some like cheesy bullshit that like I'm not even gonna want to see. But there's so many trans actresses out there that deserve recognition. And I mentioned them before, Tracy Slat, Danielle Vega. No, I haven't heard from Daniela Vega. Like what she's been in. All right, well, Daniela Vega is apparently in a film in post-production called Futura. But yeah, like I need more Maya Taylors. I need more Daniela Vegas, more stuff from Tracy Stat. Girl, come on. Let's get something for Tracy Stat. She's a great actress. Dominic Jackson, MJ Rodriguez. I can think of so many more, like Hunter Schafer, obviously. She was fantastic in Cuckoo. I mean, obviously that's not gonna be nominated for an Oscar, but I don't know, why not? Like, can we just put some stuff behind performances that are good, that are not just like, oh, this is the big Netflix social commentary musical that's outrageous. Something needs to change. Something needs to change because like I'm like, sick of it. I'm like losing my mind, honestly. Yeah, there's like other actresses, Alexandra Billings, Laverne Cox, Hari Nef. Like I'm sure Hari Nef will have something at some point, but I just feel like everything is just so like either we get like, oh, Angelica Ross as well. I just feel like this has been being trans right now in media and being an Oscars person, and then this is how I start my like little like foray, and it's just like it's filled with like the most transphobic shit and crazy trans people I've ever seen in my life. Carla, going completely unhinged on TV, on Instagram and Twitter. If I want to hear anything else from Carla, I think you should apologize to us. You fucked us over, and anyway,
I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you?
I think that's all I have to say about it. And I don't think a film should win Best Picture or Best Actress because someone said something. I'm just going to leave that there. I think the work should speak to itself. I think that if it's a good movie and it's the best of the year, it should win. That's not always the case. We shouldn't be giving awards to people because someone thought it was a social commentary. We shouldn't be giving awards to people because someone said something about them that they didn't like. And I'm just hoping that on Oscars night, it's not like so much drama that like I can't even watch it because I have to watch it. I don't miss a single Oscar ceremony, and I don't want to have an uncomfortable experience this year. It's not fun. This isn't fun for me. So I'm gonna try to make it more fun. And yeah, I don't want to ever talk about it again. I kind of had a few things to say on X or Twitter that um just led me down like this very dark path of like questioning my existence and like if it's even worth it to like be out here like this and just all that bullshit. So anyway, at the end of the day, yeah, I think that Amelia Press is cooked. I've never saw it winning Best Picture. I never saw it winning Best Actress. The only thing I ever have really thought it could win is maybe Best Supporting Actress. I think Zoe Saldana's, you know, she's still the front runner, but it's getting harder day by day to justify a win there when we have Ariana Grande right there, as well as Isabella Rossellini, who is just the most adorable, cool person ever. And, you know, I just wish her role was a little bit bigger, but you can never count out a small but important part. I'm thinking Judi Dench after the Grammys when Beyonce won album of the year. That's just like the title shift we need to like go forward. It's like new chapter, please, new chapter, please. And I just hope that Carla can just stop. We're all tired. Like, I understand you want to justify yourself when you feel attacked, when you feel like you're taken out of context, when you feel like you have been not seen for the person you are, you're on the defense, you're trying to explain yourself, but at the end of the day, like it doesn't work that way, and you're making us all really pissed off right now. And yeah, I'm pretty sure all my trans sisters and brothers and siblings can agree that this is like too much. You're doing too much, girl. Stop. And I think that it's the schadenfreude of being entertained by it is even more sickening. It really is. And I don't want to make this personal, but I've seen a lot of people kind of make a delight out of it and be entertained by it when this is really serious shit. Like we need to end it. Make a stop, you know? And I think some folks are like, oh, she keeps feeding into this drama. She keeps doing this, keep doing that. Well, let her and don't say a fucking thing. Let her do her thing and focus on the other stuff because actual issues are like we have, Caitlyn Jenner advocating against us, and I don't think that Carla has anything to do with that. So I'm not going to advocate for anyone to watch Emilia Perez. I mean, I'm just of the opinion that it's a good movie. I liked it. I don't mind seeing it in Best Picture. Of course, there's a lot of issues with it. And I hope no one cancels me for liking it. I just like seeing the trans representation, a complex character, a non-perfect character. And there's just so many great trans stories out there, like the films I mentioned. So definitely give those a peek too. Instead of doom scrolling on Twitter like I've been doing and getting upset, sit down, watch a good movie. That's what this is all about. Oscar season is fun. Like this is the month where we should be rewatching the good ones. We should be revisiting the old works of people that are being nominated. Um, yeah. So this is going to be the last sad, disappointing video I make. Um, and I hope everyone understands where I'm coming from. Anyway, I'm logging out for now. Let's move forward. Try to, you know, when you have like that one drunk at Thanksgiving and she's just like off the rails, one too many glasses of white wine, and you just have to like put her in the other room, and just enjoy the feast. The feast is the Oscars, the predictions, the power rankings, the precursors, SAG, BAFTA, the Indie Spirit Awards, even. I can't remember if the Spirit Awards are before or after the Oscars this year. I remember one year they were like after. That was like weird. But oh, and then Critics' Choice is coming this Friday. So let's just enjoy this and not give space to people who are fucking messy and have terrible opinions and don't know how to act right, having temper tantrums and trying to explain things when no one really truly cares. And yeah, let's just move on. Um, if you want to, I am. So until then, I'm logging off. My name's Siobhan Ebert. This is Oscar Obsession. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on my channel. Let me know what you think. Please keep it civil. I really hope you don't think that I'm advocating on behalf of Karla here, but I just have to put my 2 cents out there, and I hope you understand. Anyway, I'll see you at the movies. Take care. Bye now.